The Australian Financial Review.
Admitting mistakes, for example, a lot of people might sort of say to you, if we admit that mistake, what's it going to mean from a liability point of view? What's it going to mean from a brand and reputation point of view? Do I know that my boss is firm, fair and consistent, but gives me the opportunity to have a voice? I know how I'm going to be able to operate and behave and feel confident to be the best version of myself.
Hi, I'm Sally Patton, editor of Boss from the Australian Financial Review, and welcome to 15 Minutes with the Boss. A podcast about success and failure and everything in between. And along the way, we're hoping to get some really great advice from our leaders. My guest today is Mike Schneider, the Managing Director of Bunnings. Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for coming into our Melbourne studio. Lovely to see you on a screen.
Hi, Sally. Lovely to see you as well, and thanks for having me.
Anytime. Now, Mike, you're the Managing Director of Bunnings, which is a rather well-known chain of garden and hardware stores. You have some 513 stores, including large warehouses and smaller outlets, employing more than 51,000 people across Australia and New Zealand. In the year to June, you clocked up nearly $19 billion worth of sales. And my fun fact for today is that in 2024, you hosted more than 34,000 sausage sizzles, and I can tell you that my husband was at a few of them.
That is great to know. They are such an important part of the way that we want to support local communities and play a role locally with everything from your local footy club or netball club through to scouts and Lions, country women's associations all around Australia and New Zealand. It's fantastic.
Yeah, they do raise a lot of money. Okay, Mike, we haven't got long, 15 minutes to be precise. The clock starts now. Let's get into it. My first question is about your morning routine. What happens? What time do you have your first cup of coffee? How do you manage your mornings?
During the week, it's an early start, sort of about 5 o'clock. I like to get to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, do a weights workout or a cardio workout and get home, get ready and get into the office. So the first coffee is probably around about 6:30 in the morning. It's a little bit different on the weekends, have the opportunity to take it a little bit slower, a little bit of a sleep in, read the paper. The AFR is obviously at the top of the list every weekend, Sally.
Obviously.
A cup of coffee a little bit later in the morning before we get into hopefully a pretty relaxed weekend.
Mike, my next question is about a pivotal moment in your career. Was there some project or a promotion that you had that somehow changed the trajectory of what you were doing or changed you as a leader?
There's probably been a couple. I'm a bit of an accidental retailer. I went to university in the first instance to study to be a high school teacher studying history and English. Didn't love that and found my way into the retail industry, but about 5 or 6 years in, I was probably similar to a lot of young people, very ambitious to get ahead in my career, probably had my attitude ahead of my skills and abilities and thought maybe I was ready for something a little bit different and was sort of brought back to earth by some of my senior leaders at the time. I probably was in my mid-20s and I made the decision to leave retail and went to work in financial services in the banking sector. And that was a really pivotal moment for me. It achieved a couple of things. One was having the confidence to back yourself, even though perhaps you're not ready for the next opportunity. Being willing to give something a go was something that was important to me. And then secondly, after a few years, I came back to retail. So it really did affirm for me that vocationally, at least, retail is definitely the place for me.
Are there lessons from financial services that retail can take on board?
Oh, absolutely. Look, financial discipline is something that's very important. I was involved with lots of different things from retail and business banking to strategy and human resources. I think that, from a leadership point of view, behaviours and values are really important and they will transcend industry types or sectors. But equally, that very strong commercial focus that I picked up in those years in banking has really stood me in really, really good stead coming back into the retail sector.
Do you find retail harder because you don't have that stream of income that just rolls in because people hold mortgages, say, for 5 years and they don't necessarily have to go to Bunnings every month for 5 years?
Absolutely. I think any retail business, any service business actually has to fight hard every day to earn the right to be chosen by its customers. We don't take that opportunity for granted in any way, shape or form at Bunnings. We have a very, very strong focus on long-term successful financial performance, but that comes from a combination of factors. It comes from a great offer for your customer, so you're earning that right. We're privileged to work. You touched on a very large team that we have at Bunnings. I'm really privileged to be a part of a big, engaged, committed team. And I think you've got to be working hard all the time to build trust. And if you get those elements right, then I think the financial results will flow from it. But you can never start with the assumption that it's going to be easy to win that customer and have them walk through the door or jump online and purchase from you.
But interesting that in your case, you went into financial services and came out again, and that's what confirmed in your mind that retail was a sector for you.
Yes, and it was the pace and the energy. Ironically, it was around about Christmas time, in the early 2000s when I was walking down Burke Street Mall here in Melbourne and, Myer and David Jones were lit up beautifully and there was so much energy and activity and it was like, I really feel a sense of that I'm missing out on something. And there are many wonderful things and wonderful people that I work with in banking and I learnt so much in those years. But as an individual building out a career, doing the thing that you're passionate about really helps to make your career much more worthwhile than seeing it as a job that gives you a paycheck every fortnight or every month.
Okay, my next question is, what is the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
There's probably two that spring to mind. One is willingness to take a risk, whether that's different job, different location, prepared to take on something perhaps when you're not quite ready for it because you will learn. The other one is, particularly in retail, the importance of detail, whether that's financial detail around the people you're working with and knowing them and supporting them, or detail around product. I think that businesses that put a bit of emphasis around the detail, whether it's a service experience or a product experience, that really does resonate with customers very well.
And when you talk about detail and product, do you yourself get quite involved in the detail of various products that you're putting on the shelves?
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I'm probably the biggest hardware nerd in Australia. I'm fortunate to travel the world. I've been to Europe, South America, Asia, not only looking at factories and innovation centres, but other retailers as well. And, often when we see other home improvement retailers come and visit us in Australia, and we had a number of them do that in April this year, they can actually see elements of their own operating model come to life in a Bunnings, because I think in a country like Australia, we're blessed with so many things. One of the things we're not blessed with is our competitors or peer businesses just being down the road all the time. Sometimes they exist in other markets. And, the opportunity to go and learn from the world's best is really cool. And then bringing that back to surprise and delight our customers is something that we're really interested in. I don't buy products. I'm a hopeless buyer. My team would be the first to attest to that. Things that I've had an attempt at buying in the past haven't necessarily worked wonderfully. But what I do have is a real sense of what customers are interested in and where that customer trend is going. And then I can work with some outstanding merchants to help bring those products to life and our marketers to help tell the product story to our customers as well. Interesting.
So how often would you visit a store?
I'm in stores almost every week. What I know in retail is that, it's boot leather that really drives your awareness of what's going on in the business. You can read reports, you can attend meetings, you can go to seminars, you can be given presentations, but taking that into the store and speaking to a team member, and we're so fortunate that many of our teams stay for decades and decades and decades in our business, they'll tell you really quickly whether something's working or not, or tell you whether a new initiative's a good one or not. And that's a really important litmus test and part of our culture to make sure that we stay very, very grounded and very focused on, serving our customers and caring for our team.
And do you like a bit of DIY on the weekends?
I love DIY on the weekend. I'm particularly keen on getting out in the garden. I've got a great array of gardening products. I'm very proud of my rose garden, very proud of my veggie patch. I'm very fortunate that one of my two sons is a carpenter, so when Dad makes mistakes, son can come along and fix them. Usually costs me something along the way, but I love having a go and I love learning about new products and testing those as well.
That's okay. Son can go to Bunnings and get some more products probably pretty easily.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mike, on that note, we're going to take a short break, but please stay where you are. When we come back, we're going to open the chatterbox. Welcome back to 15 Minutes with the Boss. I'm here with Mike Schneider, the Managing Director of Bunnings. Now, Mike, this is our section called the Chatterbox. I've got the Chatterbox in front of me rather than you, given we're in different states, inside which today I think there are about 12 to 15 questions. Okay, here we go. I will rummage around. What's the one thing that others worry about that don't really worry you?
If I think about it through a Bunnings lens, I think other people sometimes will worry about, what are people going to think if we take an action or react in a certain way. One of the things I love about being part of the Bunnings team is that we have a really strong focus on just doing the right thing and doing it the right way. And I think from time to time in business, you'll find people who have a very risk-oriented lens. And I think that the leadership style that we have at Bunnings is a very honest and open lens. So, admitting mistakes, for example, a lot of people might sort of say to you, if we admit that mistake, what's it going to mean from a liability point of view? What's it going to mean from a brand and reputation point of view? The lens I have on it, Sally, is almost the opposite, which is that if we do the right thing, including accepting when we make mistakes, and, we know at Bunnings that, we're far from perfect on lots of things, that actually creates a relatability and an acceptance that the mistake's being made. The action that comes behind it's really important, of course. If we've done something wrong, we want to put that right.
So have you launched a lot of products that just didn't work, didn't resonate with customers? What were they and what did you learn from that, given that you talk about taking risk?
Oh, we launch things all the time, and some will resonate incredibly well with a customer and others won't. And others take a long time to develop.
And I guess in a business like yours, you can just discount it and get it off the shelves and start again.
Absolutely. And, so much of the product that we sell is what I would call a 365 product. You can sell a barbecue 365 days of the year. It's not dependent on a type of fabric or a type of colour. It's a fairly generic product that often can last for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's go to your next question. I'm having a bit of a forage. When you were in school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
My first ambition was to be a marine biologist. So that predated being a high school teacher. And marine biology back in the 80s was only taught in a couple of universities, and they were fee-paying universities at the time. And my family didn't have a lot of money. My dad wasn't very well when I was little. He was on an invalid pension. So mum and dad weren't going to be able to afford it. Plan B was a scholarship, which I wasn't bright enough to get. So Plan B1 was to pursue the teaching career, but marine biology certainly was a love, and I still love getting out and snorkeling and being in the ocean and around water and fascinated by animals in general.
Okay. Okay, let's go to our next question. Drum roll. Who is the person outside the business world whom you most admire and why?
There's a number of people, but I would probably turn to sport. Wayne Pearce, famous Australian and Balmain Rugby League player, Paul Roos, famous Aussie Rules player and coach. There's a number of people that are very values-driven in the way that they go about things and really strong on those values. And you look to those people and it's hard not to be inspired by the values that they have, the way they think about things. But importantly, it's also the way that they've taken their post-sporting careers and actually turned it to helping other people to perform better through coaching and mentoring and those sorts of things. So it's people like that I look at and I kind of go, there's something really valuable in paying forward what you're doing. I'm absolutely clear, Sally, that I'm doing what I do today because hundreds, if not thousands of people went, we're going to give this guy a go. We're going to give him an opportunity. He's earned the opportunity to do this. And they've created that. And I think, for leaders, it's incumbent on us to pay that forward. So I look to people, like Paul and Wayne. I go, that's an embodiment of that. They've given back not only to their sport, but to the wider industry to be able to, make things better for other people. And that really inspires me.
So is that something that you would like to do in your post-Bunnings career, is go back and mentor and help other people and do what, say, Paul Roos is doing? Yeah, absolutely.
Look, whether it's in a formal sense or an informal sense, and I think, certainly talking to other leaders that I know, a lot of us do that, today. You do it formally and you do it informally. And I think we're also conscious, or I'm certainly conscious that, behaviour breeds behaviour, and as leaders, we cast a shadow. I have no doubt that when I'm in our support centre or a store, there'll be team members that are looking at me, seeing how I behave, seeing how I interact, seeing how I speak to people. And I know that because I used to do that when I was a team member on the shop floor at Target 30 years ago. There's someone senior would come in and, their engagement or non-engagement had an impact on how I felt, even though I might not be engaging with them. And 30 years on, I'm still mindful of that impact on how people feel. So should that opportunity present itself in a post-formal career sense, I'd absolutely love that opportunity. And I hope that even in the workplace and through the work I do with a couple of boards that I sit on in the not-for-profit space, I'm having that opportunity to do that as well, because I think it's a responsibility to sort of pay that forward.
How would your staff describe you, do you think?
Hopefully they're gonna say approachable, consistent, fair, decisive. The consistency piece is important. I think as leaders, and all of us have been at points in our career where we're led by other people. If the boss is in a good mood on Monday, bad mood Tuesday, middlesome mood on Wednesday, and all over the place Thursday and Friday, how am I meant to come to work and bring the best version of myself? If I know that my boss is firm, fair and consistent, but gives me the opportunity to have a voice, then I know how I'm going to be able to operate and behave and feel confident to be the best version of myself as well.
Yeah, no, it's really good advice. Okay, that is the end of our Chatterbox section. I now have one more question that I am going to put to you. Mike, if we gave you 12 months off, you could do anything you liked, you were unencumbered, you could take your family or not take your family, what would you do?
I'd certainly take my wonderful wife with me wherever I went, and we'd head overseas, probably to somewhere like Italy or France, and spend a good chunk of time basing ourselves somewhere, living a very simple existence, going for nice walks, cooking, eating, drinking, just that time to be reflective, read as much as I possibly can and just explore. I'm a naturally curious person. I think putting yourself in a different environment where you're going to have to pick up some language skills and some cultural skills would be a great way to grow as a person.
So what sort of reading would you take with you? Fiction, non-fiction, anything on your list that you haven't read that you really want to read?
I love a good spy novel in the fiction genre, and I love reading biographies. So political biographies are really good. Read a couple of great ones on Don Bradman, so love my cricket. Pretty much anything I can get my hands on, to be honest, when it comes to biographies or sort of historical narratives. I think some of the ones that Peter Fitzsimons has written on Tobruk and the Kokoda Trail and things like that are always fascinating. They sort of blend a bit of novel-style reading with historical fact, and you're always learning something new from those as well.
On that note, Mike, the 15 minutes is up. It's been fantastic talking to you today. I really loved hearing about your willingness to take risk. I really appreciate the fact that you want to treat people really well and that you're really consistent in the way you show up to stores and to your head office every day. I really love the way you're into detail and you'll go out and talk to the staff in your stores who will tell you like it is and help you and Bunnings to do a better job. So thank you so much for allowing us to spend 15 minutes with the boss.
Thank you so much, Sally. I really enjoyed it.
And thank you to everyone for listening. If you like the podcast and would like to hear more, please consider sharing the podcast or writing a review, as it helps us to reach more people. And follow us wherever you get your podcasts. At the Financial Review, we investigate the big stories about markets, business and power. For more, go to afr.com, and you can subscribe to the Financial Review, the daily habit of successful people, at afr.com/subscribe. This podcast was hosted by me, Sally Patton, and produced and edited by Lap Fan. Video and audio assistance, and our music theme is by Alex Gow, and our executive producer is Fiona Buffini.
The Australian Financial Review.